Welcome to the very first episode of Meet Me at the Musical. I am your host, Teresa Lyncheski, and today we are celebrating National Sherlock Holmes Day with book, music, and lyrics writer of The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon, Darryl Bojanowski, and from T&D Musicals, Terri Bojanowski. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello. Well, I have to say right up front that Terri and I have worked together a few years back, and it is so great to see you again. And Darryl, it's great to see you too.
It's definitely good to be back together again.
It is. It is. So Terri, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what the two of you have been up to.
I graduated from Ohio State University with a music education degree. Went back a few years later and got a master's degree. I was a high school choral director for a lot of years and musical director for more than 70 professional, educational, and community theater productions. In the middle of our teaching careers, Darryl and I got the opportunity of a lifetime to produce musical theater in Columbus, Ohio, at a Premiere Playhouse. In those 5 years, Darryl wrote and we produced 8 full-length musicals and 31 one-act family theater musicals. We've retired now, and Darryl is revisiting each musical to create production packages for theatrical licensing. At the Playhouse, almost 20,000 patrons a year saw Darryl's musicals. Our Playhouse friends convinced us that other theaters would want to produce Darryl's shows for their audiences.
That's 39 musicals. That is really amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about how this came about and why this happened?
Sure. Darryl and I discovered an unusual performance venue at shopping malls. And so we traveled all over the country in the late 1980s and early 1990s, sort of like a traveling troupe would have done hundreds of years ago, actually. And we produced half-hour musicals written by Darryl for Center Court shopping mall events. 3-day weekend schedule, 3 shows a day. And we used popular themes like Hollywood Holidays, the All-American Musical Review, The Land of Oz, Dolls on Broadway, The Amazing Wonderland Looking Glass Review, and of course, The Cosmic Adventures of Luke Mallwalker. That was a good one. And amazingly enough, even back then, the malls paid between $2,000 and $3,000 for the weekend. So we had this little troupe of 4 or 5 people. We traveled with a small sound system, pipe and drape curtains for our backstage, so we could change costumes, a theatrical set, and lots of props. I said we were the Beverly Hillbillies of live theater. In 5 years, we had performed our mini musicals at malls in 26 states and were regulars at several of them. So then shopping malls all hired Santas and Easter bunnies. We saw that as we were traveling around. So we started doing the photo concessions at some malls to earn some extra money, just seasonal kind of thing. And we were working in a local mall in our town, Columbus, Ohio, and they were a small mall between 2 upscale suburbs, but we hadn't performed any musicals there yet. We were just doing the Easter Bunny and the Santa Claus pictures for them. In the spring of 1991, they called us and asked if we could produce a theater series for the summer. There was a new mega mall being built nearby, and Newmarket was losing many of their tenants. They didn't pay us, but we were able to sell tickets, and we were given a 7,000 square foot mall space for free. Family Theater Playhouse at Newmarket Mall offered 8 weeks of musicals, a different show each week, and it was a tremendous success. We continued producing musicals year-round at the mall for the next 5 years, performed by a core company of 4 full-time professional actors and 1 technical genius. After the second year, Newmarket moved the theater to a better location with more space, 10,000 square feet, and still for free. It was a wonderful partnership. We added a young actor internship program, which gave students a chance to appear in shows with the professional actors. Most of Darryl's musicals are based on classic literature and are enjoyed by the entire family. We added a catered dinner theater series, and Darryl wrote 7 new full-length musicals for it. The story ended when all the mall stores were once again filled with tenants and the theater closed. So that's the short story of how we produced 39 musicals in 5 years.
It's really, really amazing how this all came about. It's just, you couldn't have made this up. It's just so off the top, and I think it's really genius of the mall to call you guys up and all the work that the both of you have done all these years. It's just really beautiful. And
Thank
speaking
you.
of classic, you're welcome. Speaking of classic literature, May 22nd is Sherlock Holmes Day, and you two are releasing for theatrical licensing a Sherlock Holmes musical titled The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon. So can you tell us a little bit about The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon? But before you do, I have a prop. I just got excited about The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon, so I had to pull out my magnifying glass for you. Tell us a little bit.
Oh, how
They
nice.
can't see it. It's a podcast.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I have to say it. You can't say it without saying The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon.
Ah,
Tell us a little bit about it.
very theatrical, always.
Well, it grew out of an earlier shorter show called Mister Sherlock Holmes. We had a theater, we had actors who needed parts to play, and a designer who needed sets to build, audience who wanted to be entertained. I had to write something in a limited amount of time, and we hadn't done a mystery yet. When I was in my early teens, I'd read all the Holmes stories, so I was familiar with all the characters, so it seemed like an obvious choice. The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon is based on stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, most notably The Adventures of the Six Napoleons. Actually, that story is just a jumping-off place. The only similarity is the premise that cheap busts of Napoleon are being stolen. I used that premise as an excuse to place Professor Moriarty, Mrs. Hudson, and the Baker Street Irregulars in a single story, something Doyle never did.
One of the reviewers actually picked up on that when he came to review. He thought that was very interesting, that those three characters that everybody thinks of when they think of the Sherlock Holmes stories never actually appeared in the same story together. All three of them, the Baker Street Irregulars, Mrs. Hudson, and Moriarty.
So just to tell us a little bit about the show, what are the Baker Street Irregulars, just for the folks who aren't familiar with Sherlock Holmes?
Well, the Baker Street Irregulars are a group of street kids who help Holmes when he needs them. They sort of snoop around London unnoticed and are essentially his surveillance crew.
They're just kids, right?
Yeah, so people don't necessarily notice the kids, do they?
Right.
That's great. We have a clip of one of the songs called Call on Us. Would someone like to set that up for us while I get it ready?
Call on Us happens as an introduction to the Irregulars in the first scene. They just recovered one of the busts of Napoleon and given it to Holmes. After he praises them and leaves, they proudly sing about themselves.
Call on us.
Call on Us. All right, here we go.
When you need someone to count on, when you need someone reliable, then choice is undeniable. Just call on us. When you need someone who's honest, when you need someone dependable, our loyalty's unbreakable. Just call on us.
All right, that is so great. I just love it. I love the harmony that you put in there, Darryl, and it is just a joyful, exciting piece. You can definitely see it on stage. In my mind, I can visualize this scene on stage with the children. Thank you, Darryl, for that theme song, the theme music for the overture of The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon, which we are using for our podcast. I really appreciate it. It's beautiful and exciting. All right, you have another musical published and ready for licensing called The Canterville Ghost. Would you like to share a little bit about the story of The Canterville Ghost?
Let me read a brief synopsis. Based on the Oscar Wilde novella, The Canterville Ghost features a small cast in a clash of cultures in Victorian England. Performed on a unit set, the musical tells the story of Sir Simon, who has haunted the manor house at Canterville Chase since 1584. With theatricality and style, he has successfully scared off everyone who wanted to live there. Then suddenly his world is upended when a family of upstart Americans moves in. He expects to frighten them away. He's scared off so many before. But the Otis family is different. They show no respect for him or his traditions. Parents are less frightened of him than they are inconvenienced by his chain rattling and moaning, not to mention the blood stain on the carpet. And their 10-year-old twins like nothing better than teasing him with their pranks. Poor Sir Simon, depressed and at his wit's end, decides to give it one last try and fails spectacularly. Despondent, he stops doing the only thing that has given his existence meaning and hides away. The story comes to an ending with the 14-year-old oldest daughter discovers him and helps him return peace to Canterville.
Well, that sounds great. All right, we've got a clip of the Canterville Ghost, and it is the Star of Canterville. Would you like to set us up before we play that?
The Star of Canterville is sung by Sir Simon just before his final attempt to liberate Canterville Chase from the American invaders.
Okay, so this is the Star of Canterville from the musical The Canterville Ghost by Darryl Bojanowski.
I have played the ghost in armor, the ghoul of Bexley Moor. My bloodless Benedictine would have been a wow on tour. The body stealer of Certainty Bond always filled the bill, and there's no one who could do it like the Star of Canterville. I've always played the villain, the monster or the ghoul. Of all the parts that I have played, I've never played the fool. There are no standing ovations, no opening night reviews. Just congratulations and a pride in what I do. I've always been an actor, and I guess I always will. The show goes on forever for the Star of Canterville. The show goes on forever for the Star of Canterville. Oh yeah!
That's so great. Again, you could just visualize the set, the stage, the costuming. It's so fun. I love your music, Darryl. Thank you so much for it. Alrighty, so now I am sure there are a ton of people out there in our listening audience that have a musical sitting in their drawer, or they have some ideas about what they would like to write. What would you say to them if they came to you and said, hey, how do I do this? Or what do I need to do to get my musical produced?
I'm the managing director of T&D Musicals, and I've discovered several online organizations that are helping writers of new musicals get their work produced. They give all levels of support in the process of creating a musical. I'm amazed at how many people are out there writing musicals and just really aren't sure how to get them forward from the product that they're working on. I want to have a special shout out to Bob Ost at Theater Resources Unlimited. That's one of the really great places I've become a member of. And Holly Reed and Rebecca Lowry at musicalwriters.com. Their expertise, both of those groups, has been invaluable to us in creating our licensing materials. Since we have a large catalog of musicals and have produced them all, several more than once, we decided to self-license the entire catalog rather than pick one of the shows to work toward a commercial production. We felt like that was a better use of our time in our retirement. And it's been great fun. Darryl's gotten to revisit the shows. He's added some songs, he's changed some things, and it's just really fun to put the packages together.
Great. It sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds like something that you could really enjoy, and it's rewarding as well. You bring joy to other people. So here I am. I am a theater director, or I run a community theater, or maybe I have a dinner theater, or I have a cruise ship where I would like to put a show on, or maybe even a senior center, or anyone who would like to find your musicals to produce. Where can I go?
Okay, well, since Darryl is already a MyScore composer at the international music distributor J.W. Pepper, we decided to make his musicals available on Pepper's website. It's just jwpepper.com. While T&D Musicals, our business, takes care of the licensing contracts. So it's two kind of entities there. Isaac Brooks, the manager at Pepper, has been a valuable resource to us for getting our licensing materials into the Pepper distribution system.
Go to jwpepper.com and search by show name to see the scripts and music of The Canterville Ghost and The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon.
So it's really easy. You just go there. You can read the entire libretto and vocal book. And what I've done is a little bit different than the materials that I've worked with in all the musical shows I've done. Most librettos come with the libretto, the script part in the front, and the music in the back, the lead sheets of the, just single line of what the cast is singing. Well, I decided, why wouldn't you just put it in the whole order of the show so you don't have to keep flipping from the front of the book to the back of the book? And so ours are one continuous libretto vocal book, all integrated together. The song, the song lyrics come up and then you see the music. Why not,
Right, yes.
So that was one of I've got several innovations like that I tried to put into our licensing packages that maybe other people aren't doing yet. And I'm hoping to start a new trend.
That sounds great.
So then I also, if it's okay, let me add one more thing.
T&D Musicals offers a special licensing price for high schools and colleges everywhere or any theater that is not charging any admission or any fees related to the performance. High schools and colleges rent all the production materials and the license to perform one run of the show, as well as streaming rights in video and audio recording rights just for the purchase of a minimum number of libretto vocal books and the complete production package. And the scripts and music don't need to be mailed back to us. Amazing!
As retired music educators, we want to give back to theater education so schools can spend more of their budget on the production and not on the licensing fees. We're proud to make this commitment.
Equity, Lord or regional professional theaters, or any theater that isn't a school, must negotiate a licensing contract directly with T&D Musicals. But you will find that our licensing percentage is lower than other licensing companies. Go to T&D Musicals website, licensingmusicals.com, or email us at tnd@licensingmusicals.com. You'll have more money to spend on your productions when you choose a T&D musical.
Can you tell us one more time what you have on JW Pepper that is ready to go?
Ready to go is The Canterville Ghost and The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon.
Aha, The Case of the Counterfeit Napoleon.
There she goes.
Do it one more time. I'm so happy for you two. I'm so excited for the both of you. Thank you so much, Terri and Darryl Bojanowski, for chatting with us today. And I hope to see you again soon. And thank you to our sponsor, licensingmusicals.com. But most especially, thank you, our listening audience. I hope you all have a blessed day and meet me at the musical. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Recommended websites for writers of new musicals are musicalwriters.com and Theater Resources Unlimited at truonline.org. More information for writers of new musicals will be available in future episodes.